So Majo John Madden here on Friday, Good Friday, the 7th of April, from Mexico. Look at that funny little hair up there. I have to do something about that. Makeup just, dropped the ball today when they got me ready for this shoot. Paul Reps, I repeat all the time, Paul Reps, most famous. It's not a real koan. It's not a real haiku. It's not 575. It's his very short Zen poems from his book Zen Flesh, Zen Bones in the 70s. And it goes, outdoors forgives indoors. And it's guided a lot of my life, and especially even more in the 3 years since I took to the mountains from Asheville, North Carolina, left my subsidized senior apartment building behind and went up and stayed 2 months in an apartment, walk-in basement apartment with my friend out in the mountains, and then just continued to push further north into the mountains looking for where I might want to stay, or actually in many ways just developing a nomadic lifestyle, which we'll see if I manage to find a place to stay for a while here in Mexico. So outdoors forgives indoors, and we just spent several days at a hotel, nice hotel, Hampton Inn in Victoria, because my car was off in the shop. We did not have access to our camper van, me and my dog Magic there. So we stayed in the hotel, which we didn't like much at all, up on the 5th floor. So far from the earth, it really didn't work for us. But it had all kinds of nice touches, like there was free coffee all day and wonderful continental breakfast and stuff. So we're not going to have those niceties out here in the country, staying with my friend the mechanic, who moved the car from his shop to his dad's shop right next to his house. So we're way out in the country, up against the mountains, so close to the mountains you could almost touch them. And it's apparently a 5-minute drive there, and in a few days he thinks my car will be drivable, but I'll only have 1/8 of a tank of gas to last the rest of the month. And I checked the road out in front just now to see if we really are kind of pinned down in this compound here, which includes lots of farmers' fields, or if we could walk down the road a ways. And walking down the road doesn't look very appealing. It's a busy road, and I mean, not super busy, but fast-moving cars. And by now, all these dogs want to follow me. All these dogs here just want to be with me, which I don't want to get them in the habit of going out to the road, because apparently they lose dogs to that road on a regular basis here. It's one of the reasons my host said that they don't get attached to the dogs, because they're liable to turn up dead on the road. So at that hotel, we stayed outside as much as possible. We spent several days there with our car broken down in the back of the parking lot, which is quite empty and not busy at all back there. So we stayed, even though we had stayed only one night at the hotel, the staff liked us so much and crazy about my 2 dogs, because I had a puppy then, adopted Oz, and would bring us the continental breakfast and stuff, even though we weren't guests. And the hotel manager, they had to do an ongoing operation of keeping the hotel manager kind of at bay, because he's a businessman, and his stance would be they're a liability. I mean, insurance, probably were an insurance liability being on their property. After some enthusiasm about swimming in the pool, I realized that would be too much. He'd have a fit if he realized somebody who was not a paying customer, not covered by their insurance, is in the pool. But then for the last few days, we had a room, and there was several days in a row that were almost at 100. So we would occasionally take shelter in the room, and that always felt a little like a defeat. Well, I'm doing that here. This is not a hotel room. This is, our camper van. But I get overwhelmed on our day 1 here with the scope of what I'm dealing with here in terms of the poverty of my hosts and their way of relating to the dogs on the property, which is not my way at all. And then, you know, I love the company of men. I do. It's been a thing of mine, hanging out with men. There's a bunch of men hanging out in the bays over here. There's several cars being worked on, and obviously neighbors who come by and guy just rode his bike up, and they hang out there and they laugh and talk in Spanish, you know? So it's not an option for me. It's a circle of men that would not exclude me. There's, you know, these welcoming is a big feature of Mexican culture. Mi casa es su casa. But how am I going to fit with that group, huh? Can't talk. Won't understand what they're saying. And the culture. I love Joshua Josue, my host. He's an awesome, awesome guy. Very special guy. I'll thank God every day that whatever God is sent that person to me to be my mechanic. He has been heroic. And here he is, you know, going to finish my car, even though I'm really only being able to pay for parts in the machine shop where he's sending the engine out, because PayPal, we couldn't get the money through. We burned up several extra days in the hotel, and that's money that should have gone to him. So I won't be able to finish paying him until May. And he just confided stuff to me about his approach to dogs that I'm so scandalized and so heavy of heart. I'm living with a bunch of dogs here who he expects 3 weeks, probably 1 or 2 of them will die because he doesn't feed them. And they are not always easy on each other. And I said to him, well, that's because they're hungry. They're tense. He says, yeah, but we don't give them names because we don't know who's going to live. We don't feed them because we can't afford to. And the ones that survive, we kind of give them names eventually. And the ones that don't, we bury them in the field. It's just the way. It's dog eat dog. It's a dog eat dog world on that level. Even as the Mexican culture is so sweet and so non-competitive on this layer, it's not operating that way. When it comes to their relationship with dogs, it does not operate that way. It's a cold way of... And the dog that just followed me back to the truck, the biggest of the dogs, and the most aggressive, but I like him. And Joshua tried to kick him and was going to throw a rock at him before I stopped him. He says, well, he doesn't even live here. He just comes and hangs out here. But what a sad, big-eyed dog. And though he's the biggest, he's skinny. Yeah. Great heart of sadness. The Buddha's great heart of sadness. You're standing by the river. Your children have fallen in the river and you have no arms. What do you do when you're confronted with human suffering and dog suffering of the sentient beings? And I've made my peace that I told them, I am going to violate your norm about don't give them love. But I don't think I can violate the norm about don't give them food. It creates too much of a strange dynamic. They have to live with the fact that my dog's going to get his 1 square a day he only eats in the evening. And it'll be kibble. It's not going to be fancy. But by God, my dog is not going to be hungry. No. Number one, you don't want to live in a camper van with a hungry dog who's scouring the van in the middle of the night trying to find something to eat. No, that's purely selfish right there. And I won't do that to him. Yeah. All right. Bye, folks. Buenos dias. It's not buenos tardes yet. It's 11:54. There we go.